Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're jumping right into Washington, D.C., looking at the U.S. Senate and their bipartisan work on a stablecoin bill.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of movement there.
Definitely. We've gone through a Cointelegraph piece to pull out the key developments and really try to figure out what it all means. So our mission for you listening, get you up to speed on where this bill is, why things have kind of shifted recently, and the urgency behind getting it passed. It's pretty significant stuff in crypto.
It really is. And the drive behind this particular bill is interesting. It's called the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for US Stablecoins Act. Bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. The Genius Act, for sure.
Right, the Genius Act. And the Senate, well, they're trying to push this through by May 26th. That's Memorial Day here in the U.S.
That's soon. Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty ambitious timeline, honestly. It really shows there's some bipartisan agreement, or at least a desire to get something done here.
Absolutely. Which brings us to a really interesting part of the story, the original version of the bill.
Yeah.
It seems like it actually had language specifically aimed at President Donald Trump's crypto activities.
That's right. Things like, what was it, memecoins he was involved with? Some kind of crypto platform?
Right, even his own stablecoin and a crypto mining company. Pretty wide-ranging stuff.
It's quite a list. And Senator Gillibrand gave an explanation for why they took that specific language out.
Okay, what was her reasoning?
Well, basically, she said the goal needs to be regulating the entire stablecoin market, setting up a proper framework for everyone.
Right, the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Right.
Rather than getting sidetracked by potential ethics questions about just one person's business deals, the focus is on the asset class itself.
Makes sense. And it was interesting. She also sort of hinted that some of his activities, especially that meme coin, might already be legally questionable under the current rules anyway.
She did mention that, yeah. The idea of, issuing a meme coin where maybe people think buying it gets them favor, she said that raises significant legal red flags.
Okay.
But she was clear, the revised bill, it does still have some ethics requirements, but it's not primarily an ethics bill about Trump. That's not the main point anymore.
Got it. So it sounds like that initial focus on Trump was maybe a bit of a stumbling block?
Well, yeah, the article mentions Senate Democrats actually paused the bill around May 8th.
Okay.
And it was exactly because of those concerns about Trump's crypto dealings.
So taking that language out basically cleared the path.
It seems like it. It really just highlights how, delicate these legislative negotiations can be. Worries about conflicts, that kind of thing. They can definitely slow things down.
Sure.
But with that part addressed, Senator Lummis is sounding pretty optimistic now. She said passing it by May 26th is a fair target.
A fair target. Okay, so that suggests they feel they can actually hit that deadline.
It suggests, a renewed sort of bipartisan push to get it moving.
And alongside this momentum in the Senate, there's also, pressure from outside, right, from the crypto industry itself.
Oh, absolutely. They are really keen for Congress to pass not just this stablecoin bill, the Genius Act, but also another bill on the broader crypto market structure.
Right, two separate things.
Two separate things. And they want it done before the midterm elections. That's November 2026.
Which sounds like a long time away, but in legislative terms.
It's really not. Marta Belcher from the Blockchain Association, she really stressed this point. There's a limited window.
Why the urgency?
Well, her concern is about, potentially a future hostile administration. The thinking is, let's get these rules locked in now while there seems to be agreement across the aisle.
Okay, seize the moment.
Exactly. Both she and Chris Jonas, also from the Blockchain Association, they're saying it's really critical to get this done before the August recess.
Because things grind to a halt then?
Pretty much, yeah. Especially as you get closer to midterms, lawmaking gets much harder.
Right, okay. So industry pressure is high. And what about the White House? Is there support there?
It seems so. Bo Hines, he's on the Presidential Council of Advisors for Digital Assets.
Okay.
He apparently said at a conference, Consensus, just recently, May 13th, that it's the president's desire to sign both bills, stablecoin and market structure, before that August break.
Wow, okay. That's a pretty strong signal.
It is. Now, he did add the caveat that, negotiations are still ongoing for both bills. It's not a done deal.
Sure. Nothing signed yet.
But having that stated intention from the president, that definitely adds significant weight and momentum. It suggests, a growing feeling that clear rules for digital assets are needed.
Yeah, it feels like things are crystallizing a bit. And speaking of industry players, Coinbase's CEO Brian Armstrong weighed in too.
He did. He mentioned hoping for a Senate vote on the stablecoin bill, maybe early next week.
Very specific hope there.
Yeah, and it's just a side note, but Coinbase, they donated to Trump's inauguration fund back in the day.
Oh, interesting connection.
But when he was asked if Trump's memecoin could, derail this bill,
Yeah.
Armstrong basically refused to comment on Trump's activities. He kind of steered back, saying he wants the bill to stay focused purely on stablecoins.
Right. Which echoes what Senator Gillibrand was saying.
Exactly. It seems like a very strategic move. The industry seems to understand that keeping this legislation tightly focused is probably the best way to actually get it passed. Don't let it get pulled into other political fights.
Okay, so bringing it back to the bill itself, the Genius Act, as it stands now, what are the key things it actually focuses on, according to Senator Gillibrand?
Right. So she highlighted a few key areas where they've apparently made progress in this revised version.
Like what?
First, consumer protection. That's always a big one in finance regulation.
Sure. Making sure users are safe.
Exactly. Probably means things like ensuring issuers have proper reserves, clear rules about redeeming stablecoins, that sort of thing.
Okay. What else?
Second, bankruptcy protection. This is about what happens to stablecoins if the company issuing them goes bust. Right now, that's kind of a gray area.
Yeah, that's important clarity to have.
Definitely. And third, as we talked about, there are still some baseline ethics requirements included.
Right, even though it's not an ethics bill per se.
Correct. So consumer protection, bankruptcy clarity, and some ethics rules. It points towards a more, comprehensive regulatory setup for stablecoins.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this deep dive up. The main takeaway seems to be the Senate is really pushing hard on this bipartisan stablecoin bill, the Genius Act. Target date, May 26th.
A very ambitious target.
And a big reason for this new momentum is that they took out the politically tricky language about President Trump's crypto stuff.
Right, keeping the focus squarely on regulating stablecoins generally.
And this push is fueled by, well, a lot of urgency from the crypto industry itself. They want rules before the 2026 midterms heat up.
And seemingly getting a nod from the White House, too, with the president apparently keen to sign something before August.
So yeah, seems like there's a real window here for something significant to happen quite soon.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe, for you listening. What could this actually mean if it passes? If we get this clear bipartisan framework for stablecoins, what doors does that open? Does it lead to, wider adoption, more innovation, or could the rules maybe restrict things in ways we haven't foreseen?
Good question.
And also, what does this whole process, the initial political snag, the quick pivot, the bipartisan push, what does it tell us about how governments are starting to grapple with this whole digital asset world? It's definitely something to keep an eye on as it all unfolds.